the better part of me. I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane, more than some pretty face beside a train. And it's not easy to be me. Up, up and away, away from me. Well, it's alright, you can all sleep sound tonight. I'm not crazy or anything.
Hey, Chloe. You good girl. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Billy's been kind of busy lately, so decided I would step in and do something for the pod this week. Not sure how this will go. So I read a book recently. It's called Ingram, and it's written by Louis C.K, who is a very well-known, successful comedian, stand-up comedian and actor, and now an author. And I've always loved Louis, just like his style of comedy. He gets into really absurd stuff, but he also does a lot of, observation of everyday life and how silly it all can be. But I've always been a big fan of his. And most comedians these days, as soon as they get big enough, they put out a book. And usually it's a memoir. It's stories from their life. It's basically, the biography of whatever character, whatever comedian. And this one is fiction. It was just a fictional story that Louis wrote. And it's about a young kid. You don't really get his age in the beginning because he doesn't know his age. He's a young child living on a farm in eastern rural Texas in, I don't know, the 20s or 30s, Depression era type stuff. He's grown up on this farm. He's only been to the small nearby town, a couple times in his life. And for the most part, he's been fed just enough to survive, barely put a roof over his head, and kind of just left to his own devices, left to care for a few little farm animals and things that his dad is trying to keep going without much success. And at one point, things go really bad. It looks like the bank is going to take the house. Ingram's mother tells him to leave, says, "You need to leave." And so he leaves and just takes off walking down the road. And the rest of the book is basically about how this young child, like I said, under 10 years old, with no experience of the world, is just pushed out into it and has to figure stuff out. And it's very interesting. The whole book is from Ingram's point of view, and it's just interesting the words he's never heard and the concepts that he has no idea about. He's this young white boy, and he finds his way to the black side of Austin, Texas, and the first full plate he's ever seen in front of him on a dinner table, the first kiss anyone ever gave him, was from the black woman who made him that big plate. And that was also one of the first times he got to meet other kids and see what other kids are up to. And from there it goes on, and he finds work and just kind of by accident discovers that he's very mechanically inclined. He sees a motor and he just knows what to do with it. Anyway, if you're wondering why I'm getting choked up about this book, that's because in a lot of ways Ingram reminds me of my dad. And not just the mechanically inclined part, but that is true. And my dad discovered that at a very young age. He could do more with the inner workings of a car than when he was 13 than I can now. I don't know if that's really complimenting him or not. I just draw a lot of parallels and sort of... Well, it's interesting because for the last 2 years I've been full-time caring for my father. He's 79. he has some form of dementia that we haven't gotten fully diagnosed yet, but we're getting there. And he I don't have kids, so I don't really know what that's like. But like in the way that Ingram was just so clueless about the world, I don't know, it's interesting. Every day he loses a little bit more. And it's like raising a child in reverse. Instead of adding to his skills and his knowledge and his memory every day, we're losing a little bit. And I'm starting to be confronted with some questions that I don't think I'm ready to answer. I mean, as much as I hate this process, and as much as I will tell you that if you have choices, don't do this. A caregiver, there's a reason that professional caregivers are well paid, because this is a hard job. And I think doing it with someone so close to you just makes it too hard. There's just lines you don't want to cross. You are constantly worried about their pride. And let me tell you, when your memory leaves, all your working knowledge of automobiles, all your knowledge of how sports work, and things like that may leave, but from our experience, your pride doesn't go anywhere. That's still as strong as it's ever been, and it makes things difficult. But I don't know, it's funny. Some days when I tell him something and he seems bewildered, I think of Ingram. Just so you know, I don't want to ruin it, but the book, it's a sad book, but and I wouldn't say it ends happy, but it ends with like some hope, or some realistic hope. So almost 2 years ago now, when I came home, when I stopped working full time, my goal was to get him out and do all the things that we needed to do. So we went to a bunch of concerts, anything that wasn't too far away that I thought he'd be into, and that was pretty fun. But by the last one we did, I realized that the travel was probably harder on him than it was worth, and the fact that, the next day when I'd ask him about the show, he didn't seem to remember being there. So and that was the first time I realized that some of the things I was trying to do for him were more for me than for him. Those were memories for us. And there's nothing wrong with that, but only if it's not hurting him. And then recently someone told me that once they start falling, that's when it's time for them to go live in, a care facility. And I just never thought of it that way. It makes a lot of sense. Dad had a rough fall not too long ago. We were lucky in just the way that it happened. All he really came out of it with was a broken wrist, but it was scary, and now I'm constantly waiting for it, because this guy, he doesn't want to sit down because he'll fall asleep, and he doesn't want to fall asleep because only lazy fucks sleep all day, right? This guy just wants to work. But after hearing that once they fall, that's when you're past that point. Now I'm just wondering if I'm just keeping him here for me, because I don't think I'm ready for him to not be here. As hard as it can be some days, and as frustrating as it can be, and as little time as I get to myself, I'm not sure what I'd do without him here. I've spent a couple years just being scared for him all the time, and I can finally finally admit that I'm scared. We lost Mom when I was 14, and it's just been me and him. And I don't think I've ever realized just how tied to him I am. I never really thought about how much more prominent he is in my life than maybe a lot of people's parents are. I mean, I think every woman I've ever been with has criticized my relationship with him. And that was usually the beginning of the end for all those relationships. But I know I won't regret any of this. I know that. I would regret it if I weren't here. If I had all the money to pay for him to have all the best stuff, but I wasn't here, I don't think I could live with myself. I wouldn't be able to do that. You know, I was always scared to have kids. I'm a mess. I'm not the most responsible person. I don't think about the future very often. I honestly didn't think I'd still be here now. And I don't know what I think now. I know taking care of this old man is not the same as raising children, but I've surprised myself at what I've been able to do. And it kind of made me realize that when you love somebody, you just do things, man. It doesn't matter if they're hard or embarrassing or they hurt. Now I wonder if I made a mistake and I should have had that family. But then again, I'm where I'm supposed to be. My only responsibility is this old man, and I plan on letting him stay here in his home on the land he was born on, where he grew up, till the end, or he wants something different. And I'm lucky that I have a great family that helps me out. I've got a sister and a sister-in-law that are medical professionals, and that's always helpful. I've done a lot to try to make things comfortable and easy for him, and I mean, for what this guy would want, he's probably got about the best setup he could have. I mean, yeah, it could always be better. I guess my biggest thing now is that it's hard to get a lot of joy out of him. He's just always frustrated. He doesn't want to admit if he's confused or feeling bad. He walks around mumbling, cursing under his breath, and in every way I can think, the sweetest way, in a matter-of-factly way, I ask him, what's up, Dad? What is it? And he just can't tell me. And, as if all that wasn't enough, in the middle of all of this, I'm trying to build a relationship with my biological father. I lost one of my younger sisters, who I was just getting to know. I lost my favorite uncle the same day that I lost my sister. And I have a friend who took her own life a few years back, and I think about her more and more every day. And I'd love to talk to her right now. So I guess if there's really any message out of this other than go buy Ingram by Louis C.K., it's a really great book, man, don't wait. Just don't wait. Don't put things off. Don't think there will be time. You just don't know. Say the thing that's on your mind. Just say it. Whether it's taken well or not, you said it and you got it out. This is Led and Chloe. Come here, Chloe. Come here, girl. These are my doggos. They're a handful. But Dad likes them. Yeah, man, don't wait, and get your affairs in order. Take care of your health. Write a will. Have an advance directive in place. Have things in place so your family can take care of you or have you taken care of or know what you want when you get to the point that you can't tell anyone anymore. one of the things I think about all the time is the way Dad used to say, if I'm ever like that, just take me out back and shoot me. And, when we're all young and healthy, we love to say things like that. When things start to break down a little, we adjust. And life can still be very full and great. But for the man that my dad is and was, it just tears me up to think he's trapped inside his head. That there's things he wants to say that he can't express, or that he's just in pain and just hates it. Anyway, sorry if that was a little heavy. I think I've probably been needing to do that. So, if you got anything out of this, please give us a like, share our content, subscribe to our pages. Full pod episodes are on YouTube and Spotify. All the shorts are also on YouTube, as well as all of our social media channels, which is Facebook, Instagram, X, aka Twitter, and TikTok. We put out shorts. We're trying to come up with some other original content, but it only takes a second. But if you can click that like, subscribe to our stuff, hit the notification bell if that's still a thing somewhere. Show us some love, help us keep this going. It's been kind of tough. Billy's in Lubbock. I'm over here in Roswell. I haven't been to Lubbock to work with Billy since November when we went to that big tech game. We're doing our best to bring you content. We really just want to share our stories and share what we've been through. And, if you have something to share with us, please do. We would love to, do some kind of Zoom pods with guests that we don't know that have great stories. Funny stuff, fucked up stuff. Heartbreaking stuff, Sharing those is good for us. And every one of those stories has some little bit of wisdom. And that's another story from a daddy story. Hope y'all have a great week. Bye. Let's go, girl.
Men were men.